All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. Today we have the pleasure of talking with Brent Brodeski. Hey Brent, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah. Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me today. Yeah. Co-founded Savant Wealth a little over 30 years ago, more than half my life ago, and in Rockford, Illinois. And we built it into pretty decent firm. We're approaching 500 people in the firm, a little north of 20 billion in assets, about 13,000 clients. We take care of approaching a couple hundred advisors, sort of a one-stop shop. So, of course, like everybody, we do investing, we're very comprehensive financial planners, taking a fee-only approach, a fiduciary approach. I've really built a one-stop shop firm. We've got actually a sizable, somewhere in the 150 to 200 largest accounting firm that really works with our clients and really allows us to go deeper on tax planning. We've got a trust company that allows us to work with clients intergenerationally. We've got our own captive law firm that allows us to not only do deep dive wealth transfer planning, but also draft documents in certain states. And have really, built something pretty special. We went from two people over 30 years ago. Like I said, we're approaching 500 now, and we're really focused on building ideal futures. It's the end of the day. Of course, we manage money. Of course, we do taxes, and we can do legal documents and help people on insurance, all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, all those are means to an end. And in our world, it's our tagline is building ideal futures. Our second tagline is providing wise counsel. It's really and so that's what we do. And really building this one-stop shop platform that's very tech heavy, but also very people forward, and growing that organically, but also inorganically. We've done 24 partnerships over the last 10 years, 12 in the last 12 months. And so we're really, organic growth is the core of the business, but a great way to source talent and move into new geography, create density, and get new plays in our playbook is really through partnering, M&A, but I prefer the term partnering. So that's kind of what we are in a thumbnail.
Wow, that's incredible. So much to dig in there, but let's start at the beginning. So 30 years ago, you and your partner, what were you doing before you started Savant?
House school, right? Right.
School, okay.
Well, okay. So here's the actual, and that's not quite exact, right? So I went and got a finance degree. I was scared to get a job, so I, decided to start doing my MBA. During that, I did an internship, Franklin Life, selling life insurance for a summer. I learned real quickly what I didn't want to do for a career. Learned a little bit about sales. Learned a lot about fiduciary versus non-fiduciary, and so started within working for a small independent broker, a local in IBD, and they sold products. Everybody got American funds and variable annuities, but it was a financial planning firm. Of course, everybody got the same financial plan as well, which was able to allow them to sell American funds and variable annuities. I was there for about a year and a half after I finished my MBA. Never thought I'd get into this field. I mean, financial planning was really something new back then. And, I did it, and had some early success, and had a fallout out with the guy that owned the firm that I worked for. He thought I was making too much money because we were having so much success real quickly, and fired me, right? And I was devastated, right? And and I was like, I guess I have to go get a real job. Got to go knock on the corporate doors, get a job. And I did that, and nobody gave me a job, right? So I built this business plan back, when I was in college at Northern Illinois University, for a fee-only fiduciary wealth management firm that also did financial planning. It was kind of ahead of its time, bleeding edge, if you will. But since I didn't really have anything to lose, I started knocking on doors and said, "Who wants to do this with me?" And I, found my co-founder at the time, who had sold insurance and been doing the only hourly planning. And I like, listen, I've got a rig, you've got a oil field, clients you'd worked with, you got gray hair, I don't. I got energy and time, and I can do everything else. So you go get clients, I'll do everything else. And so that was end of 1992, and 31 years later, it's worked out pretty good. Yeah. So
Wow.
learned a lot along the way. Learned quickly that investments, are, still a core part of what we do. But, even 25 years ago, we realized is investments are really a commodity, right? And it's all the other stuff that matters. Like people don't, some people, maybe their aspiration is to make as high a rate of return as possible and with a low standard deviation and, get alpha. But haven't met many of those people, a few engineers maybe. But what I learned early on was interesting because I thought we were going in the investment business and we're really, as I mentioned, we're in the ideal futures business. Learn real quickly that what people care about is achieving what matters to them, what's their vision, what's their values, what's their goals, what's their legacy, what's their well-being, thinking about very holistically, of which, investments was only a very small slice. So what was cool about that is, yes, I loved investments, but, I would have gotten bored with it just being investments. And so, learned early on that by really, building, a platform where first and foremost, we help people discern what they want to be when they grow up. And, I've learned that like the problem is like, we all go through life once, right? And by the time school of hard knocks, you get all the experience and wisdom, it's too late. You're either dead or almost dead. So what I learned early on that made me passionate about becoming an advisor was that if you can help people get clear on what matters to them, then that's where the financial planning comes in. It's like the car, like the ideal futures is your destination. The car is the strategies, the structures, the documents, all the things you need to do to get to your ideal futures. And then at the end of the day, the investments, that's just the gas or electricity that goes in the car that gets you there, right? And so I think, that was, I didn't see that coming day one, but pretty early in after co-founding Savant, that's what we realized. It's the investments are a key part, but they're really the means to an end, which is ideal futures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that from a number of guests. You're not the only one saying that or who has realized that.
Yeah.
So I want to take another step back. So your business plan 31 years ago was unheard of, was not the industry norm that it is now. How'd you come up with that?
I was during an MBA, two things. I was interning at the firm that ended up firing me. And, he'd said, hey, this Schwab is getting into being a custodian for firms like ours. And, I was working on my CFP, I was working on my CFA, and, I hadn't really been tainted because aside from one summer selling insurance and I hated it, I hadn't really gotten ingrained into the status quo of things were done back then, which was more selling securities or selling products. So I guess I wasn't tainted. And during my MBA, I studied about modern portfolio theory and, and portfolio construction and, the concept of index funds, which at the time were, 45% of the institutional market and only 1% of the retail market. So I learned about all these academic concepts that, said like, of course, this is how you should do it, right? We should create an objective, a fee only, a fiduciary approach. Nobody knew what fiduciary was back then, but I actually studied that a little bit. And so that was kind of what the business plan was. And I didn't have the baggage. And my co-founder had sold insurance for 12 years and decided it was in violation of the client trust and not aligned with the client. So he had cut away from that. And for 5-6 years had been doing just hourly financial planning, on a fiduciary basis. So it was really the moons lined up, a combo of, learning this academic approach, combined with finding a co-founder who had an oil field and was like adamant against product sales, combined with the first firm that had sort of introduced me to this concept of, a standalone financial planning firm and doing, investment management on a fee basis instead of a, commission basis. So all this kind of came together during my MBA, and, I had a class where you had to write a business plan, and this is what I wrote it about. And it was actually when I started with the firm right out of my MBA, I'm like, yeah, I'll come work for you, but I want to do this together. And it's like, that's great, right? It's great. But it was about what caused me to get my head lopped off was about 18 months in, I was frustrated because I said, I need $5,000 and I need a little bit of your bandwidth and we can make a ton of money and, create this whole new business model. And, at the end of the day, that was kind of an annoyance. It was too hard to get away from the almighty commission dollar. And so, yeah, that's what got me fired. And so again, the bar was low. I didn't have much to lose. I was still single. I had actually saved up a decent amount of money. So, I found my co-founder, and, we set this business up, and, I burned through all the money and filled up my credit cards over the next 12 months. And then we finally started to make money. So, yeah.
Wow. How did you know it was going to work? This was the move.
Oh, you didn't, but you didn't know any better. Probably shouldn't have worked, but yeah, right. And this is bleeding edge stuff, right? And listen, I've learned, people say, well, how do you do that? How would I do it? It's like, I don't know. What I do know is, there was a lot of hard work. We didn't screw up too often. So that was a good thing. Like, some people, you can have a brilliant idea and be super smart, but you get hit by a bus, like bad luck, right? Well, we didn't have really any bad luck, and we didn't take many left turns or hit many potholes. Also the passage of time. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently Einstein said, the eighth, wonder of the world is compound interest. And on his deathbed, he was asked, like, what was fascinating about, and it wasn't relativity, it was compound interest. But what does compound interest need? It needs time. It needs the passage of time. So, I guess it was fortunate in retrospect that I got fired as a 25-year-old and nobody would hire me. I'm now 56, and so I've had the pleasure of be able to compound interest. We worked hard. A lot of it's luck too, is right time, right place. I mean, if you think about the big technology mega billionaires, most all of them were born within about a 5-year window. So there was a time when, Bill Gates and Bezos and Steve Jobs and Larry Ellison, all of these guys, they're all about the same age at a point where it was the right timing. So the right timing was, 1992, at least for us, right? And, it was early innings, but, persistence, being in this, and I think continuing to evolve. Again, when we started, I thought it was about, maximizing risk-adjusted rates of return, right? And, what I learned, as I said, fairly early on was, no, it's about ideal futures. And I'd say, your question is like, why did you become an advisor? There was that question from way back when it was because I couldn't get a job, and the moons lined up. But then it was a lot more deliberate 7 years ago. We had built the firm, successfully, had grown it to a little over, hair over 4 billion, call it 4 billion. And my co-founder was 17 years older than me, and he wanted to exit. He was at a retirement age. Listen, after many years of partnership, it's hard, right? And he wanted to do just different things, and that was good for him to do different things. But we needed like north of $50 million to transition, right? And I was like, I didn't have that money, right? So I thought we were going to have to sell the firm, and I was charged with going on finding capital to sell the company. And quickly realized, there was a path to stay in and build something to a whole nother level. Now, this was risky. This was scary as heck, because I was financially independent. And in order to do this and not sell controlling interest or sell out, to maintain employee-owned, employee-controlled, employee-led firm. And at that time, I was 49, I was 49 years old. It's like, in order to do that, I had to go all in, right? Which meant, I had to put north of 20 million in, and my employees put in north of 8 million. And then we had to go raise some capital, but we were able to get capital that would play by our rules, because we were willing to be all in and add money. And so, hey, they figured it must have been a good investment if we were willing to do that. But it was scary, because it was like putting it all on red. Right. And it's like, all right, I made this decision sort of randomly to become an advisor way back when. It's worked out pretty well. I think, if I want to do this, I got to be all in, or get out and go to the beach, right? Or try something different. My rationale for going all in was we'd always kind of done this napkin math. Like, how many people do we help? How are we improving lives? How many ideal futures are we creating? And at that time, I thought it was about 25,000. And so I'm like, if I'm doing this, like, is there a path to improving 1 million lives? Because, by the way, if we could improve 1 million lives, we're not a nonprofit, and we will do the world good, and we'll make a lot of money. Like, okay, so how's that work? Remember compound interest, right? Like, can compound interest, and going all in for the next, 25 years, could we get to 1 million lives? So my math was this, I got really conviction at that time, 7 years ago, that we could grow it 10 times in 10 years if we had the right partners, we had the right alignment. So we were 25,000 lives. So I figured, okay, that means we'd be 250,000 lives in 10 years, right? And the good news is we actually got there in 6.5 years. But but then it's like, okay, how would we get to 1 million? Well, we'd have to double again. And I was doing the math. I was 49. I figured I was good till 75, call it 25 years. So the first 10 years, we grow by 10 times. And then if it grew less fast from there, maybe only doubled twice in the next 15 years, that'd be 1 million lives. So that was when I like recommitted. It's kind of like getting baptized, right? Or get confirmed, right? Baptism, you got your parents just dunk your head under the water. Confirmation is, in theory, when you're deciding. And so that was when I'm like, I'm all in. This is going to be my career. I'm going to do this till 75. And because we can improve 1 million lives and we'll get wealthy in the process and we'll make the world better. And I'll create a massive volume of partners and employees that'll become multimillionaires. So that was when, we'll call it a far more strategic and deliberate commitment to becoming an advisor 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I love the focus on people rather than like assets under management. I think that's a powerful way to look at this and probably explains a lot of your success.
Well, listen, I mean, what assets do we have? Like, the computer I'm talking to right now, my iPad, weeks of desks, like our assets go up and down the elevators and out the front door every day, right? So at the end of the day, this really comes down, frankly, first and foremost to our team, right? Now, why is that? I used to say clients first. I say team first. Why is that? Because the team is my clients, right? And then they're the ones on the front line, getting fee-paying clients. And by the way, those clients that they get, they're part of the communities. And if we can give those clients confidence and excitement, to spend their money on the right things, to do the right strategies, to, grow their businesses, to, address philanthropy, like, that's really powerful, right? And that community that they can affect, that's so much bigger than even Savant, is the gift that keeps giving. Because, if you got a healthy community, that turnarounds and gives us opportunities. So I just see it as a big virtual cycle. First, it's clients, it's team, it's communities. And then the shareholders, my 165 employee owners, I mean, we just get dragged along, by creating value. I think of it as like a pie. Like we're bakers, right? And let's make, if we can make the pie so big, everybody's going to get, their share, the client's going to get, more than enough, right? And the community is going to get more than enough, and our team is going to get enough, and shareholders are going to get enough. And then we can get back to the industry, and really replicate, our success brought even outside of Savant. So it's all about making pies, right? But making them big. And if you do that, we've made the world better and everybody gets their fill.
Amen to that. Big tasty pies for everybody. So you said you had 25,000 folks that you served 7 years ago. You had a 10-year plan to bring that up to 150,000 people. How did you? What was in your plan, and how were you able to get there in 7 years instead of 10?
Yeah. So listen, we've accelerated our growth both organically, also inorganically. In the last 10 years, we've done 24 partnerships or acquisitions, but I really think of them as partnerships because where a lot of the firms like Savant are just buying whatever breathes, and paying a lot of cash, and then those sellers go to the beach because they got a big pile of cash and they're tired and old. We're not doing that, right? We're being super curated around, our partners. We're finding people that have longer runways, that are excited about being part of something bigger, better, cooler, that's looking to really have, the Savant toolkit. A lot of times the firms we partner with, they've got a box of 8 Crayolas and they're making nice pictures, right? But we got 128 Crayolas, right? And so you can make better pictures that way. So it's interesting. What's different is, most of the acquirers are looking to pay cash and have the people go away fairly quickly. We're the opposite, right? Our partners are typically rolling 50%, sometimes 30%. Sometimes we had one that rolled 85% into Savant, because they're really looking to have multiple future bites of the apple, and they're looking to be part of something that's bigger. One of my favorite proverbs is an African proverb, but it's like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Right. And so we're the latter, right? And building a really special one team, one vision, one culture, one set of values, one platform, one technology stack, really building this one-stop shop that ultimately I think can evolve to become more of a platform company like a lot of the big tech companies. So this is really allowed to, like, how do we serve more people? How do we create more ideal futures? It's about attracting great talent, that, like, listen, in the old days, we had to beg people to work for us, right? And our audience of people we could hire was like in Rockford, Illinois, and Rockford it's 150,000 people, right? More of a, it's more of an industrial town, Rust Belt town. It's where we had our starts, but you were like, listen, when we were C players, we had to beg the D players to work for us, right? But when you become, B players, the C players are happy to work for you. When you become A players, the B players are like, sure, I'll work for you. When you're A plus players, other A plus players, we can afford them and we can attract them. And then that, so when you get this great team that we have, and we're getting those now, both hiring them, but also partnering with them, that really allows us to create significant momentum. We'll be in 40 offices, in 15 states by the end of this year, and accelerating from there. So it's really creating a really special platform that includes people, specialists, processes, technology, key outside partners, branding, weaving all that together into a platform that, creates massive value for clients, creates massive value for our advisors, creates great value for our clients, our team. So that's what I'm really passionate about. And so it's, I think, like, how in the early days, it was myself and my co-founder going, getting clients and doing their trades, right? And as you pass forward now, it's, one of the things I've learned is, like, yes, I started out as a bat boy, and then I became an advisor, and then I became a rainmaker. And it's like you go from a doer to a manager to a leader of leaders to a visionary, for leaders. You keep evolving, right? And so that's really, what I've done. That's what the firm has done. And we're finding, great success attracting amazing advisory talent. And then that multiplies exponentially our ability to serve our clients, both serve them better, but serve more of them and in more locations. And it's kind of like that big ball, just picking up steam. It's going down. I call it Mount Savant, right? It's like, it's not Everest. Climbing Everest is dangerous, selfish. You might die. It's a small team. It's all about you, right? You either die or you make it and you get to brag, right? Mount Savant is like, we got in 20 years to get up there, and it's a team to go up there, right? And and it's really about creating massive value proposition. But at the top of that hill, we get this momentum going, the snowball coming down, and it's just picking up steam. So yeah, I'm excited. We like I said, it took us about 6.5 years to actually grow. We're ahead of schedule, but I'm also finding that with the progress we've made and the team we've assembled, the brand we're building, a focus on ideal futures instead of investments. This is allowing us to really differentiate in the marketplace and create something special.
That's awesome. So that's beautiful. So I'm fascinated with this idea of, B players, A plus players. And I think that a lot of folks don't understand. They're like, oh, why would I pay this person that much more than this person? Like, he's an A player, she's an A plus player. Like, what could be is the difference really worth like this much money? Have you noticed, or in your experience, is it worth the extra money for the A plus player? And if so, why?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, to be fair, when you're starting, you can't afford them, you can't attract them, you don't have the job opportunities. And so, what are you doing? You're attracting, when you're small, you're attracting generalists. That's what you need. You need people that can wear 40 hats, right? And that's a different skill set. And some of it is like, listen, certain people are really good at being generalists and they like doing it all, right? And like one man band, and then we were 2-man band, and then we had a 3-man band. Well, it's different. Like, I could tell our new prospective partners the biggest change from when you're going from a 5 or a 20 or 40 person or 50 person firm and becoming part of a 500 is you're going from generalists to specialists. That's like economics 101, right? Specialists can, be far more efficient. Specialists, is the old 80-20 Pareto principle. 80% of the 20% of what you do creates 80% of the effort, and 80% of what you do is a waste of time. But when you're a small firm, you have to do that all. Like, I was the compliance officer once. That was horrible, right? But now we actually have amazing compliance people that love this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, as you get larger, I don't have to do compliance anymore, right? So it's that's the benefit, is you get to be far more specialized. And if you're far more specialized, that means of the 80-20, the 20% that you're good at, you get to do that more and more and more and more. So, if you're going after A+ players, they've figured out what the 20% is that they're good at, and then they want to do that all day long, right? And so, yeah, and then I guess the other part of that is I look at my executive team. It used to be all in Rockford, Illinois. It was like whoever we could get, right? And sometimes we got retreads. Sometimes we had to get people that were underqualified and try to grow them on our own because that's what we could afford. That's who we could access. Fast forward today, listen, my executive team is all over the place. They're all over the country, right? Because it's really focusing on getting the best people, not, people that are, in your backyard. It's also, realizing that, yes, an A+ player is really expensive, but they're going to produce 10 times better work than a B player. And by the way, a B player is going to provide 10 times better work than a C player. Right? And so it gets exponentially better. And it's not just technical skill set. Like anybody can run financial planning software, or, enter, any accountant can enter numbers into a spreadsheet, right? It's also a matter of saying there's the skill set and experience, but it's also, are they aligned with our culture? Are they aligned with our vision? Are they excited to be part of a team versus being solo providers? Like, we've got one guy that came from a wirehouse, and that was because he was 2.5 years in and he hated it. He didn't like the conflicts of interest. So like, there's probably great salespeople. There are great salespeople in the wirehouse world, but we've chosen not to go there, to get people that are more culturally aligned, that are team oriented, that are playing the long game, that are excited about being fiduciaries. They're excited to be part of a team as opposed to having their name on the door. So I think it's, when we talk about A players, this is partially your training, this is partially your experience, but a lot of it is, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, and it's not poisonous Kool-Aid. It's nutritious Kool-Aid. It's infused with nutrients that make you better. But you gotta have buy-in. So it's interesting is, I used to be the bat boy, and then I was an advisor, and then I was the rainmaker, and I kept going. Right now, my main job is to find the right partners, to find the right teammates, and to set a vision and that's exciting and attractive, to be able to attract those people, and then have them, focus on the bigger cause, which is, creating ideal futures, which is developing that next generation, which is creating a platform that's unique and differentiated and special. So yeah, it's A+ players, you don't have to pay 10 times more than a B player, but they deliver 10 times the work, right? And part of it is opportunity cost. Maybe let's say you hire an accountant and who's really an accountant or controller, but you call them the CFO. Yeah, can they knock out financials? Yes, but are they going to be able to help you create a strategic vision? Are they going to be able to be a co-pilot, right? Are they going to be able to help you think about what's possible and what we could accomplish, not just look backwards to say what happened, right? Because any accountant can be forensic and look backwards. There's not many, for example, the A player CFOs. They're going to be strategic players. They're going to be co-pilots with me as the CEO. They're going to, help us avoid danger, but also, explore opportunities that we might not otherwise capitalize on.
That's incredible. So how do you determine that someone is an A plus player? How do you well, I guess I should say, how do you find them? How do you confirm they're an A plus player? And then how do you convince them to come, on join the team?
Yeah, hire slowly, fire quickly, but also be very clear that I'm not looking for mercenaries. I'm looking for patriots. Like mercenaries, there's some trained killers out there, right? But they might be shooting at you next, right? And so part of this is yes, do they have the skill set? Do they have the experience? As you're getting really highly positioned roles, executive team level. I mean, it's going to a recruiter because I can, see who finds me, but the best people aren't typically sitting on a street corner waving their resume saying, hire me. Right. Oftentimes the best people are gainfully employed. They're in somewhere, right? They've got roles that they're not unhappy with, but you might be able to move them. So it's a matter of getting really clear on what is the role. It's a matter of, making sure you check the boxes. Yes, they have the qualifications. Yes, they have the experience. Yes, they buy into the vision. Yes, they're going to work well on the team. I've had executive teams where you get, somebody that doesn't play nice in the sandbox. That distracts away from the A players that you have. So what happens is, yes, you might have somebody who is really technically capable, but they're not a nice person, right? And what happens, or they don't follow through, or they're poisoning the well. What happens is now you've got a team of otherwise A players and somebody who is technically capable but not a nice person poison the well. And the problem is they then take those A players that you paid up for, and turn them into B players, right? Because they kind of suck the wind, the energy, the spirit out of other teams around them. I think use an analogy, and this kind of got me in trouble, but I'll give it to you anyways. If you think of it as a bell curve, right? There are a bell curve, and on one hand, you got the flag carriers. They're all in. They share the vision. They're willing to do what it takes. They're patriots. They want to make the people around them better. They're proud of what they do. They know we can always be better. They're always sharpening the saw. They're always focused on how can I contribute more, right? They're selfless. And so that's at one end, right? The other end, swamp monsters. What are these? These are mercenaries, right? Like, what's in it for me? Like, how come management's doing this? I'm getting screwed. How come I'm not getting a pay raise? How come this? How come that? They're poisoning the well. They're water cooler, blah, 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 right? And you always got some of those, right? And you always got some of those. But the middle, those 10, I kind of call that, they're really the people that get the work done, right? They sometimes they're followers. They can also be leaders. It's like a lot of times people are in that middle of the bell curve. And, if you got too many swamp monsters, they get sucked into the swamp. But if you got flag carriers, they get excited and motivated to go become flag carriers, right? And so I think as as you're hiring, yeah, there's all the normal check the boxes things, but is this person aligned with us? Is this person like us? Are they aligned with our 6 core values? Are they aligned with our 10 guiding principles? And that's hard, right? And you don't always get it right. Right. And, when you don't get it right, sometimes they leave, sometimes you have them leave, but when you get that right, it's magical. When you get that right. And then when you find those people, at Savant, we about 2/3 of our firm is owned by employees. Right. And, we'll have, 175 most likely owners by the end of the year. So when you find those flag carriers and those people that are excited to follow those flag carriers, you make them owners, right? And then they're all in the soup.
So are there any tangible strategies that you employ to increase the odds that these new hires are a great fit and not swamp masters?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a very protracted hiring process. We make people interview with a lot of people, right? And, and it's really the easy part of the conversation is, are they qualified? The harder part is this person hungry? Is this person prospective leader? Is this person, flag carrier? Are they culturally aligned? Because you can listen. There's other firms that I know that I've got good friends running them, but they're not culturally aligned, and I would never partner with them. I love them; they're my friends. I love spending time with them, but I'm not going to be business partners with them, right? So it's a different filter you're putting through when you're hiring an employee or prospective partner. Yeah. So and then we do things like testing, assessments. Because there's like sort of like behavioral finance. Even the pros get things wrong. Same thing when you're hiring. It's easy to fall in love with somebody like you, and the reality is you want people that are different than you and complementary to you, and you want diversity, right? It's easy to want to hire people that look like you, talk like you, have a similar background, you enjoy the same sports team as you. So there's this inherent bias towards getting people like you. But from a diversity perspective, companies are much better if you got people that are different, that come from different backgrounds, that have different skill sets, that think about the world differently, that are willing to challenge the status quo, that are willing to not just be yes people that get in line behind the CEO, but rather will bring different plays to the table, right? And be great contributors. So that's the part where I think the assessments can say, like, do they check the key boxes, and can they do the role? And then having a lot of different people interview them, you gain, if it's just me interviewing, I'm going to probably hire too many people like me, and that would be a really dysfunctional world, right? But if you get people from different departments with different skill sets, with different styles, with different strengths, hiring them, putting them through different prisms, still doesn't mean you're gonna, bat 1,000. But if we can bat, more than 500, that's really good. Because most firms, they don't, they're batting very low, right? Or bringing people on that are not aligned. And when those happen, when you find those people that aren't a good fit, you just need to respectfully go different directions, sooner than later. And that's hard too.
And does that differ at all with the acquisitions situation?
Well, what's interesting is we've actually got a higher employee retention rate with our acquisitions than, Legacy, Savant, and the people we hire direct, right? And I think that's because we think about it very different. There's a bunch of firms, I won't name names, that will just buy anybody that breathes, right? And when you're doing that, if you lower the bar because you just want to do as much M&A as possible because you're PE controlled and because you're just trying to build AUM and revenues fast, you're getting a Frankenstein, right? You're getting really poor fits. You're getting people that wanted checks that are mercenaries, that are not so much patriots. So I think in contrast, like, we're hyper curated. Like, we could do 3 times the volume of deals, but we don't, because we want people that are super aligned, that are going to be great partners. I kind of think of it, when you're doing M&A, it's like marriage, right? And I grew up in this hardcore Catholic family. My brother's a priest. And they always said, Brent, you can't ever get divorced. It's against the rules. Now we know Catholics get divorced, but they brainwashed me. You can't ever get divorced. So it's like, so as a result, Brent, you got to pick the right woman, because if you don't, it's going to be a miserable, long life, right? Because you can't get divorced. So I always kind of struck a nerve, right? Yes, I was more picky and I got a great wife. But I also think about, when we bring in partners, and by the way, when we're doing acquisitions, all of the founders and generally several of the next generations become partners of mine. And it's like getting married, right? And that's another way. It's kind of like coming in the mafia. You can get in, you can't get out very easy, right? It's not that brutal, but the gist of it is we're super curated. I'd rather do fewer deals, but do the right deals, right? I'd rather get people that are going to be with us. I mean, if we're going to get married and be together, and I'm 56, I figure I'm good till 75, God help me. That's 20 years ish that I got to spend with these people, right? If that's the case, I want nice people that I like, that like me, that are not going to be like sand in the gears, but they're going to be oil in the gears, right? And by the way, they're going to bring new gears to the table, which makes what we do better, right? So that's a different prism that we're putting it through. And we've done 24 deals and every one of them still like us. I think that's pretty amazing. You hear about some of the big acquirers right now that are like getting sued in 5 directions and finding out nasty things about their employees, going to jail. And like, so far, we've been spot on. So I think that extra diligence and that extra curation, we walked away from a deal that would have made us $50 million about a year and a half ago because the person wasn't nice to our team, right?
Wow.
I'm not going to tolerate. I mean, we literally walked past, it would have been, $50 million accretion to our firm if we did that deal. And it was all right there. It was right there, ready to close. And we pulled the plug on it, right? Because only nice people, only aligned people, only people that put our team and our clients first, right? And other firms don't have that strict of a filter. And, they might win more in the short term. Like you can, think about it like there's excellence and there's growth. If you're a PE firm that's buying everything, you're just focused on growth. And what's the problem with that? Well, like what's another example of somebody just focused on growth? Bodybuilders, right? You want to be Mr. Olympia, Mr. America, what do? You take steroids, you take diuretics, you do stupidly unhealthy things to your body, and you might win or you might not, but you're going to be dead in 10 years. Or if you're Arnold, you're going to have a heart replacement, right? Like the reality is it's amazing how many bodybuilders die, within 10 years of competing, right? So it's not sustainable or durable. It's only about growth right now at a cost. And then you got firms that are like, listen, I got, friends that have firms and they don't grow. They don't care about growth. It's a lifestyle business. They like working 15 hours a week, right? They just putz around and they collect dividends and, milk the cow and drink the milk. And it's like, but that's not who we are, right? We're about growth. We're about getting better. We're about excellence, right? And so, if you're just about excellence, like I hear some of these people say, well, I don't care about growing. I just take excellent care of my clients. Problem is that's not sustainable because like, if you're not growing, you can't attract the next generation talent. If you're not growing, you can't enhance your technology. If you're not growing, you can't, create branding that gives confidence, to your team. You can't be excellent in the long run. You could be excellent today with this client, but over time it's like erosion. You don't notice it and you're not excellent anymore. So I think like as we're thinking about how do you get the right partners and it's about, people that are dedicated to growth, and doing the hard things to grow and expand how many ideal futures we're creating, how to build that next gen team, how to mentor them, how to create opportunities for them. But it's also about excellence, being the best that we can and finding that intersection. If it's a Venn diagram of growth and excellence, it's where those two circles cross. That's where the magic is. That's what we're focused on. And again, if you just want growth, then you buy everything. If it's growth and excellence, you have to be super curated and picky about who becomes your partners.
Yeah. Well, I would categorize you as a leader, and I'm buying in, my friend.
That's because you're an A player, right?
Hey, trying to be. So I love your employee ownership aspect of the business. Can you explain that decision and why you made it?
Yeah, listen, I love my outside capital partners. I have 2 of them. Sinosure, I've got Kelso. I've also got about 20 other outside, I got my board members, they're owners, and they're great because, I give you an example of the board. We've got a rock star board, right? And, I couldn't, the guys that are on this board, these guys are 100 millionaires, one ran Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, one was the head of strategy at Vanguard and grew that firm from nothing to what it is today. I go on and on. It's an amazing board. And so they're important because, like I can't pay them enough as board members for it to be worth their time, but they can invest in our business. My outside capital partners, they can invest in the business and they bring great resources. But at the end of the day, like who's the most important shareholders? It's not my board members. It's not my outside capital partners. It's our employees, the people doing the work. They're on the front lines, right? Or they're helping me grow it. So, the reality is it's good to have a balance because the outside capital partners, I couldn't attract them as board members if they didn't, own a few $1 million of my business, right? Yeah, I couldn't attract those outside capital partners who bring amazing resources to me and expertise, and they've learned how to take medium businesses like we are and grow them to large businesses. So I need them, but at the end of the day, who's doing the work? It's the employees. They're the ones that are executing. They're the ones taking care of the clients. They're the ones that are growing it for us. They're the ones that are helping me close new partnerships. So to attract those A+ talent, like there's the economics part of it and there's the passion part of it, and being part of it. There's a lot of people, like I'm a natural entrepreneur, and we got some others of those in the firm too, because mostly the firm people that founded businesses and then they merged with us. But there's a lot of people that are great, entrepreneurs, or people that, are like, listen, I'm not of the mindset to go do what you do, Brent, and start a firm from scratch. But in my realm, I can do amazing things. And man, if they are all in the soup, they are more passionate. They're willing to do things outside their job description. They're willing to go find others like us, right? That want to be part of this. They're willing to work extra long. And at the end of the day, and again, ideal futures, when I think about that, of course it's about the clients, but it's also about our team, right? And at the end of the day, if you have a job, you get paid a W-2, that's great. But most people, where they do it, their paycheck every week, every month, they spend it, right? Like, how do you create real wealth? Through equity, right? So like, to me, I've got enough wealth. Now, more is always better. I like having more. You can do more things. You can give more away. You can do crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, like things I'm most passionate about, it hit me the other day. It's like, I want to create 2,500 employee millionaires. Like, if we did that, like, listen, I'm going to get dragged along. Our clients are going to get dragged along, but that would be really cool. Like 2,500. I don't even have 25. I got 500 clients. So we're going to have a lot more employees, to be able to spread that wealth. But that to me is really cool. And I think it will. Listen, there's a bunch of firms that don't share equity. Most of the big PE firms that are acquiring they don't, you don't get to, even if you're rolling in, you don't get to roll much equity in, and your next gen certainly aren't going to have. So they might pay a little bit more, but like, if we can create, equity opportunity, and we can grow 10 times in the next 10 years, as I think we can, and then keep going from there, that next gen that might put 200,000 in the business, and we grow 10 times, that's worth 2 million. That's material. That's material to them and their families. Like, so that's what I'm passionate about. I mean, maybe because I was in the front lines dealing with clients before, it was all about, client ideal futures. To me, next 20 years, I'm focused on my team, my partners' ideal futures, because I know there's this trickle down effect to where it'll be really improving our clients' lives and our community lives, if I get my partners and my employees right. And so a key part of that is ownership, right? And so we want to, we love the balance of having some outside capital, but we want to remain employee-owned, control-led, first and foremost. And, the good thing is, like, my outside capital partners love that, right? A lot of times these PE firms, you're seeing there's probably been 20 PE controlled firms that have fired their CEO, or, eliminated a whole bunch of the team, to put their people in, their mercenaries in, they got rid of the Patriot to put a mercenary in. That's not who we are. I mean, our outside capital partners, if we want to turn left and they want to turn right, we turn left, right? They can't ever make us sell the company. They can't ever make us buy them out. The employees control, super majority of the board. So I think it's a great balance. It's not for everybody, because some people just want to sell, and some people want to own 100% themselves. But to me, I'm excited every time I get diluted, because as my percentage goes down, the pie is growing faster. So if our pie can triple and I get diluted by, 10%, I'm still way ahead. But we've now expanded the employee ownership and the benefit to our members, our partners.
Wow. This is like motivation crack that you're. I'm sure there's a better way that I could have said that, but yeah, wow, just wildly motivating and inspiring. And I could just keep. I just wrote down like 20 questions that I could ask you, but I will respect your time. I normally end the show with a open-ended question. It's what you're working towards. It sounds like you're working towards, I think you said, a million ideal futures. Did I hear that correctly?
Well, maybe even 10. I haven't announced
Okay,
that.
10
But
million.
it have to be different, right? Like, I think it's gonna be hard to get. I think we can get to 1 million that we directly serve. I'll share one last construct that I'm really excited about lately. So you go back to when I started 31 years ago, how this industry worked. You sold stocks, you sold bonds for commission. And then the next evolution was packaged products. You sold annuities, you sold mutual funds with a commission. And then the next phase 3, was, okay, we take, mutual funds, do asset allocation, put them together, rebalance them, send you a quarterly performance statement for 1%, a service, right? You go from selling commodities to selling products to selling a service. And then it evolved. It's like, well, listen, if we also throw a financial plan in there, maybe a little estate planning, maybe now we can help them more holistically, right? So it's financial planning led advice, right? And then it kind of it's like the stage that, most of the firms aren't here, but where we're at is, we're one-stop shop. We have our own accounting firm, probably 150th largest accounting firm. We've got a law firm, we got a trust company, we got some insurance capabilities, on a fee only basis. We have a retirement plan platform. We do business succession. So this is like one-stop shop, right? Easy button, allowing us to help our clients, not only conceive their ideal future, but also, have a platform that helps execute that. All great, right? I think the next phase of our industry, at least for Savant, is we become a platform company. Now, what do I mean by that? I talked about it a little bit earlier, but when you think of platforms, think of Apple computers. Now, let me rephrase myself. It's just Apple. It used to be Apple computers. They dropped computers. Why is that? Because they wanted to go from being a computer manufacturer to a platform. And what is that platform? It's my phone, the phone that was ringing earlier. Right? That's iOS, right? Or Mac. That's a platform. Think Amazon Prime. That's a platform. Think Microsoft 365. That's a platform. Salesforce. It's a platform. Netflix, Uber. Think about Uber and Airbnb. They're platform companies. They're the largest taxi business in the world, and they're the largest travel accommodations firm in the world. And they don't have any of their own hotels or their own taxis. Like, how's that work, right? I go on it. So what's happened is the platforms, mostly think of them as tech, Facebook or what have you. They are really in the business of creating amazing experiences for both sellers, for clients, for sellers, for partners. And nobody's done that in our space, right? Yes, we have FinTech, we have MoneyGuide Pro, we have Salesforce, we have all these stuff, but they're all sort of, I don't know, barbed wired together, and they don't really talk nicely, and they don't create a very good portal experience. They don't create a very good advisor experience, and you lose track of all this information you've accumulated over the years, and it's not a unified platform experience like Amazon Prime would, or like Netflix would be, or like Apple, would be. So the gist of it is, that's why when you look at these companies, they're probably 20 of the 25 most valuable companies in the world. And they don't frankly have many assets. What they really are is they take people, process, technology, branding, partners, bring all of this together into a unified experience and platform. And so how would that apply in our world? It's, we're calling it the Ideal Futures platform, but it's bringing all those things together with AI inside, right? To really allow our advisors to better advise and to not let things drop through the cracks, to create an amazing client experience, where it tees up and in a way to think of an amazing client experience. So let's imagine that right now we deliver 2 units of value to our clients. How much of that do you think our clients perceive? Maybe half of it, right? 1 unit.
Yeah.
So we're doing 2 units of work, but we only get credit for 1. And then what about that 1 unit? Like, how much of that do they remember? Maybe half of it, right? They forget all the good stuff we do for them. It's like, what have you done for me lately? So we're doing 2 units of work. We're getting credit for a half, maybe. So if we nail this platform concept, then maybe instead of delivering 2 units of value, we can deliver 4 units, right? Because we've we've created this amazing experience. Amazon, like it's amazing what you get with it for $129 or whatever they charge per year, right? Go on your phone and bam, there's what you want. It's a reasonable price and it's coming in hours or a day, right? Like the value they've created, or Apple, like the value Apple's created for us in our lives. It's crazy, right? Netflix, I was watching that last night. Whatever you want, like
amazing.
now, right?
Yeah.
So what if we could do that in our space, right? And create an amazing integrated experience for our clients that instead of 2 units of value, it delivers 4. And by the way, because we're using process and specialization and technology and branding and packaging and doing all that, instead of it may cost us half as much. So we can deliver twice as much for half as much. And by the way, if we're delivering twice as much, if we can create a really good user interface for the client, great portal, great iPhone app, an integrated experience, a hybrid way of working with them instead of the old come in my office once a year and sit down and have an annual review. If we could do all of that, I think, instead of a half unit of value, we went from 2 units we deliver and a half that they understand to 4 units. And maybe we could get credit for 3. Just keep in mind, advice, it's invisible, right? It's not tangible, but if we can make it a lot more tangible, if we can make it a lot clearer, if we can track it, if we can use technology and digitalization to be able to help them understand their well-being and their values and their priorities and their other investments weave into that and their wealth transfer and what their legacy. If we can bring all that in digital, like that's like priceless, as I think it was a MasterCard or American Express said. So that's what we're trying to do. I think that's the next big thing. I don't think anybody's figured that out. We're really leaning into this, and building that platform. And that's where I think there could be a path to get to 10 million lives or maybe even more. If we can build a platform that is not, constrained by just our frontline advisors, but maybe could be a solution for other advisors as well. That might give us a path to sort of like Amazon and Apple have improved billions of lives. Maybe we can do the same.
Mm. Wow. Well, I am very excited to watch you do all this stuff. This is incredible.
Yeah. If you hadn't figured out, I'm having fun too. So I think our whole team's having fun. So we work hard.
Yeah.
Fun and making the world better, improving lives. It's pretty cool, right? Who would have thought that you could improve lives and still make a lot of money and maybe change the world in the process?
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to hear about. So, doing it must be a blast. Awesome. So where can our audience find out more about you and Savant and everything you're working on?
Yeah. Listen, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me that way. I'd love to, have more friends. Savantwealth.com, SAVANT wealth.com is our website. And a lot of advisors go there and copy a lot of our stuff. So feel free to plagiarize if you like. Yeah, a really amazing team that's built a great, front end. Either go to there, or there's a page somewhere on that site where there's a bunch of other blogs and podcasts I've done over the years. I've probably done 20 of them. So, I think this is some new stuff here today. But there's a lot of good stuff there that might be useful to your advisory, clients and listeners.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to link to that in the show notes. Brent, thank you so much for taking the time. This was fantastic. I could probably talk to you for the next 5 hours, but I will, I'll let you enjoy your evening, sir.
Well, thanks for the opportunity and, enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, this is great. Awesome. Well, all of our listeners out there, thanks so much for tuning in. Everybody keep on growing out there, and we will see you next